Yeah.
Thanks for listening to the AZ Wildcats podcast. I'm your host, Mike Luke, joined by Mr. Kyle Dodd, Arizona basketball's favorite person. Hello, Kyle Dodd. How are you?
I'm good, man. How you doing, Mike?
All right, Kyle. So we're going to talk some ASU, and we're going to talk a lot of the best players in conference history. I'm actually more excited about that than the game even. But first, Kyle, we got to call you out in a little bit. You drive up to Vegas. You don't fly because you don't necessarily expect ASU to win the conference. That surprised me.
We just started driving a couple years ago. Just just easier when you exit the tournament, which hasn't happened at the last day very often for us. It's just easier than getting on the phone and trying to figure out flights and all that. So we just get back in the car. It's a nice 4.5 hour drive. So me and Doug Tamro and Tim Healy and a couple other guys, we get in the car and roll out there.
All right, let's talk Arizona ASU. I lost a very bad bet to Kyle Dodd last year off the Devin Cambridge more than a half-court shot. Here is essentially the bet that I have to go to an ASU game and I have to wear a Kyle Dodd jersey. But this probably won't be happening this year because Kyle Dodd will not be at the game that I was supposed to show up for this. Kyle Dodd, this works out best for both of us.
Hey, I know, man. I'm bummed. That's why I was kind of chirping on Twitter last night, putting the shot out and stuff, because I won't have to endure any of the grief from the U of A fans this year. My dad's turning 80 on Saturday in Southern California, and it's one of those things, man. I mean, obviously ASU U of A is as good as it gets for me, but yeah, family comes first, and so I gotta be out there for Pops, and I wish I was down there to see all my Tucson friends, but can't make it Saturday.
We'll hold it down for you. Don't worry. All right. Now let's talk a little Arizona ASU. The teams that Arizona I worry about are the teams that because let's be honest here, Arizona's had games this year where they've taken teams lightly. They haven't really guarded them, whatever. And it's a bunch of white guys that just shoot 3-pointers and they don't miss. That really isn't what ASU does. ASU's pro is, you got a little bit of athleticism, you got a little bit of length. What is the recipe for an Arizona State victory over the Arizona Wildcats, Kyle Dodd?
I think we have to stay in the rebounding game, to be honest with you. I think we've been getting beat on the glass all year. And obviously Arizona's got size and really good on the glass. If we can finish defensive possessions, we really do a nice job of guarding and pressuring the basketball. If we can get stops and finish possessions by securing rebounds, I think we can stay in the game. Also it kind of depends on which team shows up on the offensive side. If you're getting stops, we're pretty good in transition, but if we're taking it out of the net, we haven't been a real great half court offensive team. So, I mean, we've gotten better, but that's been a struggle for us. So I would anticipate, if we're getting stops and getting out on the run, we stay in the game and keep it close. If not, it could be, an Arizona win.
All right. Now, so you're expecting an Arizona win?
No, man, we're going to smash you guys. No, honestly, you know what? I was thinking about this last night. I think we're kind of back to playing better. We went through that tough stretch. I think the guys are playing confident basketball, and, it's a rivalry game. I think it'll be a good game. Honestly, I think it's going to be a good game. Obviously, Arizona is the standard in the league, and I think it's extremely tough to win in McHale. So I'm not expecting to go down there and win 2 years in a row. But I think hopefully Arizona State can stay in it and make it a game.
One thing that Arizona has had some trouble with, especially Umar Ballo, leader of men, is going against players with length. Arizona State's got some length down low. Talk a little bit about what Arizona fans should be looking for there, Kyle Dodd. The ones that haven't been privileged enough to watch the vaunted ASU basketball team this year.
Yeah, I mean, it's an athletic team. Alonzo Gaffney's a guy that's gotten most of the starts at the 5 right now. We've been starting the last couple of games. Sean Phillips, who's a 7-footer at the 5, and sliding Gaffney to the 4. But Zoe's a guy that's extremely long, extremely athletic, and to be honest, his the part that's most valuable about him is his length on our press, because he can guard 1 through 5, and he kind of runs the point on the press, and he really gives opposing guards problems. But then at the same time, he does, elevate and able to block shots. He gives up a lot of weight to Ballo, but I think, Sean Phillips being back and healthy will take some of that off of him. So, I mean, I think, we have an athletic front line, a little bit undersized outside of that. We don't have a lot of depth with some, injuries that we've had this year and some guys that just aren't playing. But we'll see. He's a load down there. And, I know it's really interesting because I think, watching Arizona a lot this year and, getting on Twitter and stuff, Ballo's a guy that takes a lot of grief from your fans, Yeah,
I don't get it.
And I don't get it either. And then Gaffney on the other side is the guy that gets hammered the most from our fans. So I think that it'll be a fun matchup for fans and Twitter wise, Right.
I was remiss, Kyle Dodd, remiss on many things, but this is brought to you. This is Flavoring Fridays. Welcome to the PHNX Wildcats Show, brought to you by OG's. Shout out to OG's, the official sponsor of Flavoring Fridays. Head over to OG's Brands to see their full lineup, including their newest gummies, the OG's Naturals, and the Big OG's, and find out where you can purchase. Kyle Dodd, an OG of the Arizona ASU rivalry, my friends. By the way, I was looking for that clip of Richard Jefferson blocking you, and I cannot find this anywhere. Can you help me with this?
I don't know. I probably have it somewhere. Yeah, man.
Kyle, if you could get me this, you would. This would really go a long way with Arizona fans.
One of my biggest regrets in college basketball, I swear to you when I tell you this, because I don't know if too many people know this, but I didn't show it a lot in the game. But I had a 45-inch vertical.
Yeah.
I jumped out of the gym, and that was my thing in high school. And just, I was
you
trying
were in
to
dunk contests.
Yeah, I was in the college Final Four slam dunk contest. And so I remember that lane opening up, and I remember seeing the rim, and in any other time, 100 times out of 100, I just would have gone up. I don't care who's on the other side of that. And I just completely wussed out, kind of went up with a little soft layup. And yeah, Richard tagged that thing. I think that thing's still flying. It's pretty crazy.
Doug. I would assume Doug could maybe find this footage. Could he not?
Yeah, it's probably on VHS tape somewhere,
All right, now let's talk about Arizona, because you've admired from afar. Arizona to me is, and I was talking about this a little bit yesterday. Arizona to me has I think the second highest upside in the country when they're playing well, when they're fully engaged outside of UConn. What is Kyle Dodd from his expert lens from Tempe? By the way, where do you live? You live in Mesa or Gilbert?
I'm in Chandler.
So. Oh, Chandler, close enough. Whatever, same thing. What do you see from afar though with Arizona?
Yeah, I see a complete basketball team. I think they have all the pieces to make a run at the whole thing. I think I've told you off the record that I honestly, going into the league with all the issues that different teams had in the league, and just like I said, or I think the last time I came on with you, just the world we live in with the transfer portal and NIL and stuff, I didn't see Arizona losing more than at all maybe in the league. I thought maybe someone would sneak up and get them at Utah or at Colorado, which ironically they just swept. But I thought maybe that's a game they might lose. I just thought that they were the most complete team. They have a little bit of everything. They got size, they got length, they can shoot the basketball. They got guys that can slash. They got, a floor leader in Boswell, which I know he gets a lot of grief from the U of A fans as well. But I think they have all the pieces. I just think it's, again, part of the world we live in as far as them getting to know each other, getting to comfortable playing with each other, trusting each other. You're incorporating a lot of new guys in a system, like Tommy's, which is a fun, free-flowing system, but you got to trust each other and you got to play well together. And we've seen when they put it together, man. I mean, it's I don't see a lot of teams in the country beating them, to be honest with you. But at the same time, we've seen some stinkers from you guys as well. So it's I think the sky's the limit for Arizona. And in my house, we're hoping you blow the first round again. But I actually have a weird feeling Arizona's got a deep run in them this year.
Do you like the transfer portal?
Yes.
As an ex-athlete, do you like the transfer portal?
I mean, for me, I was old school. Like I would have never left. Like I don't know. I just feel like something about learning to become a man is when you make a commitment, you learn to work through some things. I do understand. I mean, coaches are free to leave, so players should be free to leave. I liked it a lot better when you had to sit out a year, because I just think it gave a little bit of regulation to the fact that you can't just move freely. But I don't know, man. To be honest with you, I'm really discouraged in college athletics as a whole. I mean, just the transfer portal combined with NIL. I mean, I just really feel like it's really put a lot of programs. You look all over the country, a lot of programs have the same problems.
Right.
And I think it's because you've developed an atmosphere and a culture that you're playing for this. You're playing for this. And I don't blame the kids. I mean, you're playing for your next contract. And and you're not, how many people, I think we talked about this last time, how many people are playing for this anymore? How
many people are backing the A?
Yeah. I mean, that's the truth. I mean, it's just, and I know Arizona's in a little bit different situation. Obviously you can still get some dudes there, and that obviously always helps when you get some players. And not saying ASU doesn't have players or other people doesn't have players, but it's just tough, man, when you don't get guys to play together for multiple years. That's why I think Stanford is a team that's like frustrating to me, because they got guys that have played together and have experience, and I feel like they could put it together at some point. I just think maybe athleticism hurts them at times.
All right, let's talk Bobby Hurley. You are Bobby Hurley #1 fan, and you know what I appreciate? Here's what I like about Kyle Dodd, amongst many things. Kyle Dodd reminds me a lot of myself. And I don't know that that's really a compliment to Kyle Dodd, but, he'll engage with the folks on Twitter. He'll go back and forth, but generally knows when to stop, but also has his diehard is going to back his people. Make the case for Bobby Hurley, and then I'm going to make the case for Eric Musselman. I almost said Erica Musselman because there's an Erica in here. Make the case for Bobby Hurley and why he is the man to lead you forward, because I know you believe this.
Yeah, I mean, kind of what I was just saying. I mean, there's not too many true Sun Devils anymore. I mean, like I said, you're getting guys for 1 year and gone and moving on to more money or whatever the case may be. But to me, Bobby Hurley's a Sun Devil. He wants to be here. He's had other opportunities to leave. He likes, Arizona State, and he's taken us places, and I know you guys, anybody that's listening on your end will probably make fun of me for saying this, but he's taken us places we don't normally go. We don't have the rich history. And, like the middle of his tenure, right before the world shut down, I mean, we were headed to, another 20-win season and another tournament. And I think, the four-year stretch he hadn't happened in like 65 years at ASU.
Right.
And, what he did last year with, putting that team together, and even this year, I mean, these guys are struggling and at times have been hard to watch, but man, we play hard and they battle for him. And I just think at Arizona State, I don't think we can do better than Coach Hurley. I think he's a guy that wants to be here. He's a Sun Devil. And I just love the fact that his guys would run through a wall for him. And again, the kind of the culture of college basketball, I think he's the right guy, for us.
All right. Now I'm going to make the case for somebody else. I'm going to try to help out my good friend Kyle Dodd. But first, Kyle Dodd, when was the last time you went to Circle K?
Yesterday, man.
You went to Circle K? Duh.
I did.
He's Kyle Dodd. He's going to go to Circle K. All right. Are you part of the inner circle? The K maybe stands for Kyle, not.
I think so.
You should be part of the inner circle. You get cheaper gas. But either way, check it out. Join Inner Circle for free by downloading the Circle K app today. Terms and conditions apply at participating locations. Visit CircleK.com for details. And let's say that you're looking for a place to go watch a game at McHale because it's packed, unlike Desert Financial, and you don't know how to get in there, though. Game Time, my friends. Game Time will help you out there, for the people, by the people. Check it out. Let's see here. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code PHNX for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code PHNX for $20 off your purchase. Download today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. Eric Musselman, that is the answer to your problems. The Must Bus. Hop on the Must Bus. And we're going to get back to the game, and then we're going to talk a bunch of alumni stuff. Why are you against Eric Musselman? What about Eric Musselman do you hate, Kyle Dodd?
No, Muss is my guy. I'm actually on a text thread with Muss. It's not that I wouldn't love having Eric Musselman as a coach. It's just that I don't want him right now. Like if Bobby ever decided to take another job and he was moving on his way, then Muss would probably be my number one pick. But like I was joking with you the other night, I'm like, you said Muss is an upgrade. I was like, well, Muss is an upgrade over Tommy too. I don't know if I really believe that, but I'm just saying, like, I'm not thinking about that. I can't even go there right now, but I do love Muss. That's my guy, man. He's a great guy.
So Muss, I will say this, Muss would get the attention of the college basketball world at ASU. And how cool would it be to watch a coach that you have no clue if he's going to take his shirt off during a game, if he's going to take his pants off during the game, and you would have a front row seat for this, Kyle Dodd.
Yeah, but you also have we have a coach right now that you have no clue if he's going to do a lot of stuff too. But yeah, I know. I mean, honestly, Muss has done a tremendous job at Arkansas. Obviously, they struggling this year. I think again, kind of goes back to the same thing we were talking about. But yeah, he's a terrific dude and a terrific basketball coach.
All right, we're gonna get to some all-time conference stuff here in just a second. But Kyle Dodd, what kind of basketball player was Shane Diefenbach?
Oh man, Shane's a baller, man. Minus the mustache, when he was a kid, he's
got good height.
No, Shane was a guy, man. I know you're probably referring to, he was in my basketball academy at one point, and Shane came in and worked his tail off every day, man. He got in there and put in the work, and he got everything he could out of
Shane doesn't strike me as quick twitch. Is this fair?
He wasn't going to jump over the top of a lot of people or fly by a lot of people, but Shane was he was a good player though.
All right, now let's talk. We're going through the last 30 years. Kyle Dodd and I were messaging back and forth about this and texting about this. We're going to go with our best players at each position for the last 30 years in the Pac-10/Pac-12, kind of as an homage to moving on. So let's start. It gets interesting here at the point guard spot first. Who is your point guard, Kyle Dodd? Do you want to go with the Phoenician Mike Bibby, or there's one other choice?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, this was crazy, and I just was listing off name after name.
Yeah, it's wild, isn't it?
I have my selfish, opinions. Like Jason Gardner is one of my all-time favorite guys, ironically, because he's just a great person, and I thought he was as good as anybody in the league, for a while. Obviously Baron Davis, you go back to Gary Payton, and Luke Ridnour was ridiculous to guard.
Jason Terry, Salim, all the guys you guys had, Earl Watson. But yeah, I would honestly probably go just pure talent, like Baron Davis or Bibby for sure. You know who I'd go? I would go, I'm going Mike Bibby, but then after that, for my second team, I'm going Jason Kidd.
Yeah, Kidd, I didn't know.
Yeah, Jason Kidd. To me, it's those two. Baron Davis physically was just like a specimen, obviously. Yeah. But Mike Bibby, Jason Kidd, I need to win a game. Those are going to be my two at the point guard spot.
Yeah, you can't go wrong. There's been guys that you wouldn't even mention or wouldn't even remember, I remember going my freshman year going against a guy, DeAndre Tanner at Oregon State. And I was like, man, welcome to college basketball. This dude just backed me down the length of the floor. I was 145 pounds just flopping, flying off of him. And he was just a good player. Senku Carey was at Washington my freshman. Yeah, it's just been Ridnour to me though was the hardest guy I've ever had to guard.
Interesting. I could see that.
Just you could never relax. He was so smart. Off the ball, on the ball. That was the one guy for me that I just thought was the toughest to guard, along with Jason Gardner. You couldn't relax either. That guy was so smart, and if you just took your eye off the ball one time, he'd slip behind you and knock down a three or whatnot. But yeah, it was the league, man. It was loaded.
All right, let's go shooting guard position. Shooting guard's interesting. I have another name that came to that I actually think I'm going to put at number one. I think, listen, it's difficult. This one's difficult for me. I mean, I think I'm going Brandon Roy at shooting guard.
Yeah, he's in there.
I didn't think about him until somebody on Shear's message board brought it up, but Brandon Roy was just, he was amazing.
Yeah, I mean Brandon, James Harden, Miles Simon, Dickerson.
Those are the three, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking, off the ball guards, but yeah, I mean, first, yeah, Brandon Roy was pretty dang good for sure, and Washington had a run of really good guards at that time too.
Right. And then you had some other guys too. AZ Wildcat fan, Khalid Reeves. A lot of people consider the best shooting guard in school history. Averaged 24 a game. Ed Gray, Eddie House. I'm surprised you didn't bring up Eddie House.
Eddie's my number one, man. Eddie. Pac-10 record holder, tied with Lou Alcindor for most points in the game. I told you all the time. That's me and Eddie combined for 64 points that game. He had 61 and I had 3. So we got after. How many
did you have in that game?
I don't remember, man. I remember I hit like a very early shot in that game and then never shot again.
Right.
But I know that the game, I think I had 10 assists against when he had 40 plus against UCLA and we blew them out, which I think that was one of my better, I think people after that game were like, man, you as a freshman, you and Eddie are really starting to gel and you're developing some really good chemistry. And I felt like looking at these reporters and like, this ain't that hard, man. I just give him the ball and get the hell out of the way,
Right. All right. Small forward. We're going to go with some of the players that you probably grew up with growing up in LA. Ed O'Bannon to me is the easy number one. Ed O'Bannon, National Player of the Year. Obviously won a championship. Artesia High's finest. Ed O'Bannon, that is an easy one for me at this number one small forward spot.
Yeah. Ed O'Bannon's up there for sure. I mean, they got another guy in Artesia that could be a shooting guard or small forward. Jason Capona was pretty dang good in the league. If we're just talking just the league, I mean, Casey Jacobson was just a pure scorer, pure shooter. I mean, man, there's just, like we were talking about this last night and I was joking and then like my mind was going nuts and I was like dreaming about it. Like names were flying through my head. There's just so many. But I mean, Ed O'Bannon, I grew up a UCLA fan being in Southern California, UCLA basketball and SC football. I'm kind of weird, but Ed O'Bannon, that was a fun team to watch. Tyus Edney, Ed O'Bannon, his brother, Toby Bailey,
J.R. Henderson, Jelani McCoy, George Zedek.
Zedek, man. Yeah. Zedek was underrated, man. So.
Yeah, so that to me, you know who I put at number two, I think, and I didn't even realize this until I looked at his stats. And another California guy, Lamont Murray. Lamont Murray averaged 24 points per game his junior year. It was with Jason Kidd. That was a really fun 1-2 punch. Looking at it in hindsight, 24 points per game. Hard to argue with that. I'm going Lamont Murray probably as my second best small forward.
Yeah, he was ridiculous as a scorer too, and I was even thinking like guys like Luke Jackson at Oregon. Yeah. I mean, as far as just being in the league and dominating the league, he was an awesome college basketball player,
Right. There's a lot of guys. I mean, I think of, Michael Dickerson, leading scorer on a championship team, averaged 19 a game before getting hurt in the NBA. And then, all right, here's where it gets fascinating for me. Power forward. I'm going to probably be a little biased here, but maybe I'm not being biased. I can't think of a better power forward than Derek Williams.
D-Will was up there, man. He was up there. I don't know. What's funny is, I don't know if you know this story, but I think we had a legit chance at Derek Williams early. And I don't think Herb Sendick was the coach at the time. He didn't think he could shoot and didn't think he fit. And about 2 games into his career at Arizona, I remember someone saying that and I'm like, what? He was ridiculous. He was on that team with my boy Kyle Fogg.
He was.
So I was, I watched a lot of Arizona basketball that year, and actually, ironically, went to a bunch of U of A games in McHale, sat courtside, and nobody even knew that I was there. Actually had the Richard Jefferson parking pass because the guy, one of the guys I was going with to the games with was actually Richard Jefferson's agent. So
Really?
yeah, so I sat at a lot of games at McHale Center that year watching my boy Foggy. I was living in California at the time, and I think I just maybe moved back for like one of the seasons he was there. But yeah, nobody knew. I just slipped in, slipped out.
Slithered on in, right? Yep. I like it. All right. Yep. All right, my other one is I'm going with Sharif Abdur-Rahim. I like that era of Cal basketball because I have no problem with cheating in college basketball. I'm fine with it. Everybody does it now. Todd Bozeman was bringing in all these players that should probably have never been at Cal. Jason Kidd, Lamont Murray. Sharif Abdur-Rahim, Conference Player of the Year as a freshman, went off to be the third pick. That is my power forward, Kyle Dodd.
Yeah, I can't go. You can't really go wrong there. I might go a U of A guy too up there, Michael Wright.
Loved Michael Wright.
Michael Wright, rest in peace. He was to me as good a college big man as I played against, like actually playing against. Right. Sean Lampley, Cal was pretty good. I got to go my dude Ike Diagu, Sam Clancy. Yeah, I mean that Sam Clancy, that USC team was loaded. Clancy, Blue, Granville. But yeah, I mean, Ike Diagu, like I know that's tough for you guys, but Ike was
a beast.
Ike was ridiculous. I mean, I think he scored in double figures every game of his career, and Ike
came in at 19 and left at 22 points per game. Ike was the man. Ike is an all-time ASU guy for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
The fun story about that USC team. Remember, do you remember Adam Spanich?
Yep.
So Arizona was on the way to being the first 18-0 team in conference history. And I believe it was the last game of the season. Adam Spanich made a shot at the buzzer, and this was the 97-98 team that had everybody back, that hit like the heel of the rim and bounced in at the end. 17-1, no good after that. Was not happy about that, Kyle Dodd.
Adam Spanich also, I think, was the one that hit that crazy shot at Matt Court at Oregon when they were down 5 with only a couple seconds left and like stole the ball and hit a 3 at the buzzer there. So he hit some big shots. Yeah, I forgot about him. I think he left right when I got there, but yeah, that SC team was, I think
those were good SC teams.
They went to the Elite Eight, I think, with Trepanier and Granville and Clancy and those guys and Scalabrini and
Compton High's finest, Jeff Trepanier.
Yep. Talk about freak athlete, man. That dude could jump out of the gym. We actually got in a brawl.
Not Kyle Dodd.
Yeah, we got a brawl with USC my freshman year. Jeff Trepanier and Avi Story. You guys might remember that name.
AWVEE.
Yeah, and it was the game. The funny thing is the game wasn't on TV. And so like right now, if it was today, I mean, we would have had 20 suspensions. Not one guy got suspended. Right. We had photographers and media people and fans breaking it up. And it was just after the handshake line heading up to the tunnel. Nobody ever saw it.
Right. It was a gentler era.
Yeah, it was a big old Avi got probably did something crazy and then got into it with Jeff Trepanier after the game. So
was this as good as the AJ Bramlett Eddie House scrap?
Yeah, this was a full on. Yeah, it was pretty crazy because multiple people were getting in and trying to pull bodies off, and so yeah, the Eddie House Bramlett one was on the street though. That was outside a hotel, right?
Yes, there certainly was. Oh, Greenway High School's finest question here. What happened to his teammate at hometown kid Chad Pruitt? Loved Chad Pruitt. First saw Chad Pruitt play RJ in the state championship game. St. Mary's against not St. Mary's. Moon Valley against Greenway. You have the floor, Kyle Dodd.
Big Red, man, was probably awesome. One of my all-time favorite people and teammates. He was awesome. And what's funny is he ended up having a long career in Germany. He still lives over there, got married, stayed over there. But every year he would come and the Suns would have pre-draft workouts and they'd bring in bigs and they'd always have Big Red because he was local go against the bigs. And, he was undersized, 6'9", and, wasn't a great athlete. But every pre-draft workout, Red would just kill these guys, like dominate and just make them look stupid because he was like Kevin McHale in the sense that he just had 1,000 post moves. He could shoot it. He could do this. And I remember talking to some of the front office guys at the Suns because at this time I first started getting into like working out players to go to the draft workout. So I would like had access to go and study and watch and try to figure out what they were doing. But I remember talking to a couple of people at the front office at the time and they're like, at what point do we actually like we were just bringing him in basically to go against guys. At what point do we actually
start looking at him?
Look at this guy, because he just kills people. And I just think Red didn't have the size, the length to play in the NBA. But yeah, he had an awesome career in Germany, and I think retired a couple of years ago, and he still lives over there.
Yeah, I was a big fan. Like I said, Greenway's finest. All right, now let's talk centers. To me, the first one is Kevin Love. Love to me was just he was different. He had the entire package. He was big. He was strong. He had the Wes Unseld outlet pass. Kevin Love to me is the best center. That one was an easy one for me, to be honest with you.
Yeah, K-Love for sure. He had a heck of a career. I mean, Collins twins at Stanford, Lopez twins at Stanford. Mark Madsen had a good career at Stanford.
Jeff Pendergraph,
Dan Gadzurek. I mean, all
Lauren
these names.
Woods.
Yeah, Lauren Woods Lauren Woods was Channing Frye. I mean,
Channing Frye.
Yeah, the league again had some really good centers, back in the day, and obviously the game has changed, so you don't have a lot of guys that you throw the ball to on the block anymore. But yeah, I mean, K Love to me had a little bit of everything. He could step out and shoot the ball, and then his outlet passes were, man, would have been fun to be a point guard playing in that, with a guy like that.
The one guy that I have no clue what to do with in this list is DeAndre Ayton. You look at his stats in college, you're 22-11, you're a consensus first team All-American, you're the first pick in the draft. But, and I'm probably getting beat up by U of A fans, but I don't care. DeAndre just never struck me as a winner. DeAndre struck me as and I don't think that I'm not totally surprised by what's going on with the college, what's going on in the NBA right now. DeAndre just struck me as he played basketball because it was easy. I don't know that I necessarily wanted DeAndre Ayton over some of the other players. How about what's the
I mean, he's I think DeAndre is a good kid, and I think the problem with DeAndre is he's a good kid.
Yeah.
I think he was given so much early on in life, and, he got involved in, I mean, people were just pulling him in all types of directions. And I don't know how much basketball, really meant to him other than it was just a way of life. And I told people last night on the little ASU spaces we did that, that was the year.
By the way, you never answer my questions when I text you. I say, please address this. You never do on your spaces.
I never pay attention to my phone while I'm talking. So, but yeah, I mean, I said it last night. That was the year we were 12-0, number 3 in the country. I think someone had lost early in the day. We were the last undefeated team in the country, going to U of A on New Year's Eve. And I think it was an up and down preseason for Arizona. And I remember walking in like, man, we can win this game. We're going to be number 1 in the country. Like, we're going to be 13-0. Like, this is Arizona State basketball. What is going on? I was losing my mind. And I walked into McHale Center, and then me, Doug Tamro, and Tim Healy ran right in the hallway. First freaking person we saw was DeAndre Ayton. And I'm like, damn. Like, oh boy. Yeah. I mean, he was just a specimen, man. And we, that day, Doug Tamro always says, we got Ayton, man. I mean, he was a beast. And we had some good post players that year, Romello White, Daquan Lake and stuff, but he was a load. And I think if he had a little bit, I guess to get back to my first point, if he had a little bit of a mean streak in him, that guy could be ridiculously good. And, I don't root against the guy. Obviously, when he came here, or the Suns and stuff, and Portland, I mean, I hope he figures it out, because he's just got a boatload of talent.
I've never seen anybody at Arizona that walked in that just looked so much different than everybody else that's ever walked through here.
Yeah, it was like I had like the whole drive down to Tucson. I was like, I allowed myself to believe we were winning that game.
Right.
And then I literally ran into him, and I'm like, oh my God.
He just looked so much different than anybody else. Yeah. Even in college basketball, he looked so much different. All right, so there's our now. I'm going to ask Kyle Dodd about some players from the 01 team for all you young bucks that didn't see this. But first, the BetMGM Sportsbook app. Hold on, let me pull this. Hold on, my screen is freezing. All right, hold on just a second. Here we go. All right, the BetMGM Sportsbook app, all kinds of good stuff. Sign up for BetMGM. Use bonus code PHNX. Place your first BetMGM Sportsbook wager through BetMGM Mobile's Sportsbook mobile app for at least $5. You will receive $150 instantly in additional winnings, regardless of your wager's outcome. Check out the show notes for details. Let's hear Damon with the disclaimer.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Available in the U.S. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369-NEW YORK. Call 1-800-327-5050 Missouri, Massachusetts. 21+ to age. Please gamble responsibly. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP Arizona. 1-800-BETS-OFF Iowa. 1-800-270-7117 for confidential help Michigan. 1-800-981-0023 Puerto Rico in partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel. Visit BetMGM.com for terms. This promotional offer is not available in New York, Nevada, Ontario, or Puerto Rico.
All right, let's say you're like Kyle Dodd and you're predicting a big win for ASU basketball. You could make a lot of money on the BetMGM Sportsbook app if you believe Kyle. Or you could be like me and say that Arizona's going to win. Now, I'm generally an idiot, so you might want to go against me, but not on this one. And one last one. Kyle Dodd, have you ever won the Arizona lottery?
I have not, but I need to.
All right, all right. The Arizona lottery is just not about playing games and winning prizes. Like Kyle Dodd, it's about giving back to the state and the community. Visit azadventure.com for more information on how you can take an adventure for a chance to win $1 million in cash and Arizona travel prizes. Okay, Low Tone Capone, very interesting remark. Buffalo had no problem with Ayton. Well, maybe that's more of an ASU problem, that they did have a problem with Ayton, my good friend. Just saying. All right, I want to ask you about something. You obviously you played against the 0-1 team. We've talked about this before on the show. In my opinion, out of all the players that I've ever seen at Arizona, and I didn't get to see Sean Elliott, I think Bibby's the best player I've ever seen. Gilbert Arenas, I think, was the most naturally talented. What are your recollections of being on the court? And keep in mind, everybody talks about Kylan Boswell coming in as a 17-year-old and playing. Gilbert Arenas was a 17-year-old as well. What were your memories of Gilbert Arenas on the court?
Yeah, man, Gilbert. I think the main thing that I realized real early is he was wiry, but he was ridiculously strong, like stronger than he looked, stronger than what his body looked like. I mean, he obviously was gifted and looked like a player, but I remember him being able to, get his shoulder, below your hip. And I kind of prided myself on staying in front of anybody, that was my
athlete.
Yeah, that was my deal. Is like, that's basically what I did for 4 years at ASU. I didn't shoot the basketball. I guarded my tail off. And I remember a couple of times getting switched off on Gilbert and just blowing through your hip. I mean, he was one of those guys that you could do everything right defensively and you just couldn't stop him. He was ridiculous. That whole team, honestly, that Arizona team. I mean, I look at some of the guys they were bringing off the bench that year, and
Luke Walton.
I mean,
your guy, Luke Walton.
Yeah. That's why I'm on the most hated list, man. That was one weak moment in Tucson.
Right. So let me ask you this. Gilbert Arenas at his peak, James Harden at his peak. Who wins one-on-one?
That's tough because James is a guy that's kind of very similar. James probably more physical player. Right. Gilbert's probably a better athlete, obviously, right. But then James was kind of under like a sneaky athlete too.
Sneaky athletic for sure.
Yeah. He could jump and when you just didn't expect it. But I mean, both of those guys.
That'd be a fun game to watch.
Oh, they could create shots. And I mean, like Gilbert, I remember, I think watching the game when Gilbert was with the Wizards and put 55 up on Kobe and the Lakers.
61 on Kobe. Let's not shoot the 6 points.
That's right. All right, 61. But yeah, I mean, like, then you look at James, same thing. I mean, his ability to just on those nights when he gets it going. So yeah, I don't know. That's a tough one. In a one-on-one game, maybe with James's ability to probably back him down a little bit, just a little bit more physical, maybe. Right. But I mean, you can't.
A little bit bigger.
Yeah, you can't. There's no way to pick that one. Outside of just flipping a coin.
All right, moving on to the Big 12. Kyle Dodd, what are your opinions about the Big 12? I am ready to get out of the Pac-12. I'm going to miss the Pac-12, but the Pac-12 now is not the Pac-12 that I grew up watching in the 90s, where, I mean, even at ASU, give you an example. I went to go watch ASU when Damon and Khalid were there, the Final Four year. And it still was not easy to get a ticket. And I'm not just beating up on ASU. There was just so much more fan support across I mean, look at Maples. You played in Maples. You know that. Maples, outside of Duke and a couple other places were about it was about as difficult a place to play. Pauley, back in the day with Jim Herrick, was not an easy ticket. It's just not the same anymore, man. Like, I just look at all these empty venues. USC, UCLA, I mean, I can just keep going on and on down the list. It's just not what I grew up and what you grew up playing in.
Yeah, it's definitely you go around to some of these buildings, and I mean, been kind of going at it with a couple of your fans on Twitter about,
Oh, you were fudging the stats and you got called on it.
yeah, but really there's one team in the league that's notorious for fudging the stats, and it's the team above us. And I could tell you firsthand being there what they called out on Saturday and what was actually there on Saturday.
Right.
Not close, but I mean, even regardless, like ASU, that's another thing that, to go back to the Bobby thing. I mean, we've had, outside the U of A game, we never got, a full building, and we've had some really good crowds under Bobby, and we'll end up again in the top 3 in attendance. Outside, obviously U of A is always going to be the top in attendance.
No, not second.
That's true. But yeah, I mean, Maples was filled. Oregon used to be crazy with Matt Court, and their building's nice, but it's too big, and yeah, it's
every
sad.
Arena feels like Gill Coliseum now.
Yeah, and I mean, even Oregon State was Haas Pavilion. People always laugh at me, but Haas Pavilion back in the day was crazy hard to play in because the acoustics in that building, just an old building, it was so loud, and they used to get great crowds. And yeah, Stanford was. I mean, Stanford was like
had a very Duke feel to it.
That's what I was gonna. Yeah, it was basically Cameron. Cameron Indoor of the West.
I'll never forget this story. So this is the year after Arizona wins the national championship. That's for you, Low Tone Capone. And Michael Dickerson's shooting at the free throw line. And keep in mind, this is before social media. This is before all of that. And they start chanting out Shauna. And, everyone's like, what the heck is this? Shauna was his ex-girlfriend. The name of his ex-girlfriend. Somebody found out who that was. And they started just chanting. And he said, man, that did throw me off. That was the Pac-12 that I grew up liking.
I'm gonna give Arizona fans, you're welcome for this. I'm gonna give you guys some ammunition against me. But I was at the free throw line my freshman year, 150 pounds, little acne on the face, spiky surfer hair from Orange County, and the Stanford crowd started chanting Shermanator from American Pie.
I know.
And I heard it. I was like, Shermanator. And I'm like, oh my God. And then I looked over at my bench, and like even some of my assistant coaches, that had seen the movie, and people are just dying. And I'm like, oh man. I was like, all right. I tip my hat.
Tony Benford one of them?
Tony Benford, Coach Pano, Coach O'Dowd. Yeah. But it was, yeah. So I'm like, all right, pretty good, but their student section was obviously Stanford educated, but they had some of the best. They would do their homework. UCLA puts out the cheat sheet or whatever. It's the dumbest thing in the world.
Yeah, that thing sucks.
It's nice terrible. Try. Yeah. I mean, but Stanford actually legit, like, yeah, they would know your family's name and, whatnot. But yeah.
And Michael Dickerson was a quiet dude too. So I just remember like when he was interviewed after the game, and he's like, man, that was insane. He's like, I have no clue. And I have no clue like what kind of breakup it was, but they clearly knew who his ex-girlfriend was. And, I mean, that was the stuff that I grew up watching and just loved about the Pack. And it just didn't feel like it's there. But one thing though, that is there is the Phoenix Raceway. Kyle Dodd, you strike me as somebody that hangs out at the Phoenix Raceway. You're cool. You got kids. They're athletically inclined. You're a man of the people. Kyle Dodd, have you ever been to the Phoenix Raceway?
That's the problem. My kids are too busy with the sports, but I probably need to get over there. They probably would enjoy it. So,
all right. Well, either way, don't be like Kyle Dodd and get over there. Get your tickets to the Shriners Children's 500 at Phoenix Raceway, March 8th to 10th. Promises a weekend of good vibes for the whole family. Get your tickets now at phoenixraceway.com and Illegal Pete's. Have you ever been to Illegal Pete's, Kyle Dodd?
Yes, I have been to it.
All right. Now, Kyle Dodd has been there. The great Kyle Dodd has been there. Take advantage of Illegal Pete's weekly deals. Kick the Monday blues with $3 margaritas all day long, or ease your way back into the week with $2 tacos every Tuesday. Do you work in healthcare or education? Take your team to lunch at Illegal Pete's every Tuesday and enjoy buy one, get one free entrees. And don't forget to unwind after a long day. 3 p.m. to 8 p.m. Illegal Pete's, your go-to spot for burritos, buddies, and beer. All right, moving into the Big 12. How do you feel that ASU is equipped in both sports? We can also talk about your guy Dilly, who we actually like a great deal on this show.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think football, the conference is going to be a little bit easier of a transition for both of our schools. Honestly, I mean, I think we
are a football school in Tucson, Colorado.
Hey, man, You did. He had it rolling for sure. Where's Jed these days anyway? But anyway, yeah, I think honestly, it's, football doesn't scare me.
Right.
I think I think that both of our schools will be fine. Basketball, you're going into a really, really loaded basketball conference where, like we just talked about, every road game is going to be ridiculous. It's so hard to win road games in any conference, but on the Big 12, you watch it. I mean, the winner of the Big 12 this year is probably going to have 6 or 7 losses, right, which is rare. But yeah, I'm excited in the sense that to experience some of these schools, but at the same time, I'm a Pac-12, Pac-10 guy, so it's, as it winds down, I've every place that I go that I probably, like Oregon last week or Oregon State, it's like, we're never going to play Oregon in a non-conference game, so right, probably never go to Eugene again, which, whatever. I mean, but, I'm just kind of soaking it all up. But yeah, it's going to be some new adventures.
I haven't texted you this, and I've been meaning to text you this for quite a while. You look at, I've always thought the template to win at ASU is this. You can get a lot of the high 3-star kids that are in the Valley, and the ones that are like the Phoenicians, the ones that are, I'll use Jalen Williams as an example. And again, I get that he's a late bloomer. I get all of that. How do you let Jalen Williams out of the Valley when his other school is Santa Clara?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things.
Because you had to have known about him.
Yeah, I think, I think recruiting these days is different. But yeah, I mean, I think what Kenny's doing in the football side of things is obviously Kenny being a Sun Devil, and he's selling that, staying home, being a part of the, the homegrown talent and stuff, I think is cool. I do think that, what Bobby's been able to do in recruiting and go outside of Arizona and outside of California and go some places that we haven't gone in the past, get a guy from Maryland, get a guy from Florida. I mean, it's been cool too. And yeah, it's recruiting these days. I would not want to be a college coach right now. I mean, having to recruit your own players to stay and then having to recruit other players. And I mean, how many people are even recruiting high school kids anymore here? I mean, a lot of guys are just looking at recruiting the portal, and it's just a weird time.
You train all these kids. They should be just talking to you nonstop and having you filter these kids.
Not anymore, man. When I was training kids, that, obviously it's so funny because when I was actually running my academy and train, like I had a kid, Casey Benson, that played at Oregon, Mm-hmm. And it was so strict, and I was so scared to get in trouble. Like I couldn't even and Casey, grew up with me, and his brother TJ, I don't know if is on the staff, on the Arizona staff. I mean, so but I couldn't even tell Casey, hey man, you should go to ASU. Like I was so scared to get in trouble. I mean, I had Marvin Bagley and mm-hmm. those guys in the gym, and I was so scared because I also did the announcing, but now, man, it's like anything goes. I would have been steering everybody in that direction. Not that they would listen to me. And can you comment on? I want your eval on a couple players in the Valley that I'm sure you've seen. Are you allowed to comment on them? Yeah, I think so. Yeah. So
how good? Talk to me. I get people that ask me this all the time, and I've seen them once. How good are Eddie House's kids?
I haven't seen them live since they were, I think, just before high school. But I mean, just from what I've heard and seen the highlights and stuff, I think they're really good. I think very gifted, athletically, lightning quick, like Eddie was defensively. Right. They get after it like their brother Jalen.
Right.
And I think they can fill it up a little bit. I mean, what I've heard is that they're major Division I basketball players, and will probably get to play wherever they want.
Cam Holmes, I can speak for. Cam Holmes is fantastic. Big lefty. Have you seen Cam Holmes?
I have not seen him. Yeah.
Man, we're bringing this guy in the nose, everybody, and he hasn't seen anyone. Come on.
I haven't gone to a high school game, and once I kind of got out of it with my kids, it's busy. I'm at a practice every night, for something different with my family. So I haven't been to a high school game. I went to one high school game recently, and that was probably the first one that I've been to in 10 years, honestly.
All right, here's the great Kyle Dodd. We are going to be partying in Vegas. I messaged Mulebach, and he is down, so we're going to be hanging out right here. We can make fun of Jason Shear during that time. Maybe he'll even join us. Who knows? But
yeah, Yeah, I'm looking forward. You set up the lunch, right?
I got it set up. But don't worry, man. Here, that's what I do. I build bridges. I let others burn them. I build them. Sometimes I burn them and then I build them. But either way.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm looking forward to hanging out the last Pac-10, Pac-12 deal in Vegas, and we'll get it done.
You got to get Tim Healy to hang out. I had a good time hanging out with Tim Healy.
Yeah, he'll be there.
All right, Mr. Kyle Dodd, you have a great rest of your day. I'll be texting you. Everybody out there, you're all fantastic. Even you, Low Tone Capone. You've been listening to the AZ Wildcats podcast.
We all silly like the mayor.